ready to go for the full season of racing here in the HQ Racing eSports League, as drivers get a chance to go from sim to reality here live on RaceSpotTV. Hi folks, Arjuna Kankipati in the broadcast booth. Excited as we break out the Formula 4 machines and begin here at the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari, also known as Imola. The first of a handful of Grand Prix tracks that we'll visit in this championship season, and in the Road Atlanta circuit as well on our run through to the middle of April. Should be an interesting swing. First in Europe, Imola, Red Bull Ring, Hungaroring. Draft will be important in these Formula 4 machines, but some technical places, especially the tight confines of the Hungaroring. Circuit of Barcelona, Silverstone, a little bit more super speedway style racing in these Formula 4s before cross across the pond and head to Road Atlanta. Only non-Formula 1 venue through the years on this schedule at Watkins, Glen. Go all the way back in the years through the history books. Formula E Grand Prix venue. In this HQ Racing eSports League, what are we fighting for? Well, our driver gets an opportunity to head to the newly opened HQ Racing Peekskill karting facility, multi-level indoor facility, and an opportunity to jump behind the wheel of one of those karts, get some coaching as well as multiple on-track sessions. Second, third places also get a couple of prizes, although everyone hoping to be our champion. Given that we're at the start of the season, blank slate for all our competitors here tonight. Qualifying just drawing to a close, and the way that tonight's racing will work is split across multiple races. Let's start though with the starting grid for the heat race. 20 minutes on the clock, and Jordan Heppel will lead us to green. Only split by 16 thousandths though from Josh Connell on the outside of the front row. Anthony Giovannone and Nick Bruno split row 2, with Connor Stroh and Anthony Arroyo 5th and 6th positions. A little bit further of a gap back to Remy Podis and Alberto Guglielmi. Jackson Podis, Romario Jackson, Jake DeMeglio, John Willis. 12 cars entering this opening round of the championship. So at least one driver saying they'll be back in action for round 2. Short championship to fight your way back though from a loss of points here tonight. Just waiting for the final drivers to hit the starting grid here, and a fascinating run down to turn 1. Remember Valtteri Bottas, George Russell, they squabbled in the rain, albeit and not on the race start. So much treachery, so inviting. The run down into Tamburello, and then a short blast down into the second of our chicanes as well. Underway for the first time in the 2026 HQ Racing eSports League, and the field streams down to turn 1 here under the Italian sunshine. Half look to the inside from Josh Connell as he tries to put the pressure on Jordan Heppel. But we sweep out through the first of the chicanes, mindful of those anti-cut curves on the inside. Connor Stroh, one of the few drivers, trying to make some moves as he passes Nick Bruno up towards the Villeneuve chicane. Already losing the draft of those in front to bobble over the curves for Bruno. And allows Anthony Arroyo the chance to attack up into Tosa. Left-hand hairpin. Oh, car on the gravel, Romario Jackson. Back to pit lane for him. And already you can see the separation that our top 3 enjoy. Romario Jackson in pit lane. John Willis will join him. Has got the dreaded meatball from iRacing. Too much contact. And now will be forced to return to the pit lane. Josh Connell feels the pressure. And out to Acqua Minerale makes the mistake. Giovannone sweeps through to second. Here's the replay as on board with Connell. You ride through one of the chicanes as two Formula 4s try to clamber on top of one another, and the rear wing goes flying. A bit too aggressive maybe of a checkup from, that would have been Jackson Podis trying to slot back into line. And Jackson Really just the meat in the sandwich there, as gratuitous slow motion from our producer. I believe that we're looking at probably about 12 laps of racing. Draft a big factor in these machines, low power, relatively high downforce. Arroyo gets the inside down to turn 1. That's going to be nice and easy. I think Bruno's going to try and now slip back into the draft and slingshot on the run in towards turn 5. Josh Connell in danger of bringing Connor Stroh back into the mix of the podium battle. This track opened 72 years ago. And so much history since then. Now a World Endurance Championship host, as well as the Endurance Le Mans Series, Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and on and off, of course, can't forget the Formula One Grand Prix. Back in the day, it used to be called the European Grand Prix when it was a staple on the calendar. Oh, behind Arroyo, Bruno goes deep, and Remy Podis might have a chance to slip through. It's not the easiest place to do so, though. In through Grassini, high curbs on either side, and Bruno's got no choice. Tucks back underneath and dropping a bit like a stone right now. That's 3 positions lost in the early stages of this race. In a race where really there hasn't been too much chopping and changing. Look at the left side of the screen. Josh Connell drops behind Anthony Giovanone for second, with Connor Stroh, Anthony Arroyo, and Remy Podis slipping past Bruno. Fight for the race lead, though, is on at the line. 3/10 to the good for Giovanone, as he not just sets the fastest lap of the race, but has target in his sights. Puts himself in the mirrors of Jordan Heppel. Let's ride on board for a lap here at Imola. Sweep out through the chicanes. Track limits, well, they're Formula One style, so if there's a curb, you can try and use it. Just don't be too aggressive. Well, Romario Jackson span around at the same place that he was on the opening lap of the race, as up through Tosa. Really want to try and cut back and put the power down. That's what we saw from Jordan Heppel. Up the hill you climb into a fast sweeping left-hander at Piratella. Well, be careful about how much curb you use. It unsettles these open wheel machines, and then dive down the hill into turn 11. Quick flick, and then down a couple gears into third, and then back on power early. It's all about minimizing the distance and trying to minimize how much the car gets unsettled on that left side, exiting up in towards Grassini. All about the exit here. Want to straighten the car up once again and stamp onto the loud pedal. And now just 2 more corners. Right hand drop into the braking zone at turn 16, or turn 18 rather, at Ravazza. Oh, Giovanone cuts the inside a bit too much. You see how that stalls his momentum out, but in the draft it will close him back up. Meanwhile, as we rode on board for a lap here with Giovanone, Nick Bruno slips back past Remy Podis. I see Jake Demeglio's had an issue as well in the first of our 2 races tonight. Here's the replay for Jackson. Deep in through the corner, locks the left front, and rear end steps out on him. For Demeglio, cambered in is that penultimate corner. He seemed to still carry just a bit too much speed, and around it went. I will say, this is one of the tracks featured on the new iRacing arcade game. I got an early sneak peek to that, and I've played plenty of hours, and I can tell you, lots of fun. Very different from iRacing, though, if you want more casual and experience. Here's the pass from Bruno. Squeezes Podis as he sweeps down in through Ravazza. That was nicely done, nicely judged. Closing in on almost half race distance in the first race of this championship. Just 7 rounds. Another spin for Demeglio. That would have been at the second chicane, the Villeneuve chicane. Josh Connell's got the fastest lap from Giovannone and almost now latch back on to make it 3, fighting at the front of the field. Formula 4, since debuting on iRacing a handful of years ago, have become increasingly important in the world of eSports. You look at not just the FIA F4 eSports Global Championship, yes, it's a mouthful of a name. Interesting format for that, where the drivers don't actually find out what track it is they'll be racing at. 2 tracks on every Saturday that they go racing until 24 hours before. Top of screen, Giovannone's gone deep in through the first of the chicanes, and that's going to allow Connell to close. Bottom of the screen, well, calamity in through the first chicane as Anthony Arroyo and Nick Bruno come to blows. Meanwhile, Josh Connell has got in front of Giovannone. All kicking off, 8 minutes about complete in this first heat of the day. Just a spin. Not really much that Nick Bruno could have done there as Arroyo feels the pressure. What that replay also showed is just how quickly the track has been covered in shadow. Down to Acqua Minerale, Connell on the outside as Giovannone slips through once more as they climb the hill. Jordan Heppel has been able to use this to great effect and now clear of the draft of those behind. Alpha 6th raging on bottom of the screen as Bruno recovers behind Alberto Guglielmi. .2 seconds as they drop down the hill, ready to complete lap 5. There will be some championship points handed out in this first race. And then another set of championship points after a reverse top 10 for the feature race tonight. I believe that will be slightly longer in length, make it 30 minutes. Oh, Josh Connell's gone deep in through turn 1. Good thing there's no wall to greet you, just gravel. Connor Stroh slips through. Well, Remy Podis as well. Bruno squeezes and holds on to the position in the fight for 6th spot. Riding with the Italian. Almost halfway through this first heat. Oh, Nick Bruno a bit target fixated there on the tail end of Josh Connell. Through all of this, Giovannone at one point, of course, having had the fastest lap, his rearview mirrors got very, very close. Being slightly ran over by Josh Connell. You need to brake so aggressively in these high downforce cars. You can really actually almost attack the brake at 100% pressure, trusting the downforce, and then as you slow down, as the downforce releases, that's when the trail braking, the ability to slowly release the pressure as the downforce is bleeding off, avoids locking the tire. It's the most efficient route through the course as well. I think on this lap alone, we'll wait to see at the line, but Giovannone back to within about 1.7 seconds of Heppel. 1:46.8 for the leader. Yes, half a second shaved off the lead. 9 minutes to go, probably another 5-ish laps. Any mistake is going to be crucial, as Connell proved on the previous trip down into turn number 1. Canadian's times on lap 4 and 5, putting him in the good. Lap 5, the good fight between Giovannone and Josh Connell, but without any draft, really close back up. Track temperature, I mentioned that it cooled off. Well, track temperature is at 89 degrees Fahrenheit right now. That works out at about 31.5 degrees Celsius in what is still the burgeoning morning, 10:30 a.m. virtual standard time on what is colloquially known as iRacing Day, the default day that any session launches up with, 15th of May, and effectively no wind as well, which in a downforce car is useful. Not much to worry about in terms of gusts and changing directions. Nice line there from Bruno as he recovers from starting in 4th, dropping down as low as 8th position at one point. Oh, Remy Podis wide at turn 18. First part of Ravazza. And now 3 cars in this fight for 4th. Sitting low in the slipstream. I don't think that Remy's going to fight this one too much. Leaves the inside wide open. Can Connell avoid overcommitting? Yes. Slices his way through, although a bit wide, and compromises him on the short run down into the Villeneuve chicane. Nick Bruno closing through all of this, and Remy Podis slightly now compromised. Gravel kicked up from all the incidents in that second chicane. Got to be so intentional about curb usage here. Running over the top, in towards Piratella once more. So much sharper than you think it is, and that's where the downforce comes in handy. Through Aqua Minerale, they drop through once more. Stomach drops from underneath you too. And with Nick Bruno trying to close a half a second deficit to Podis. Oh, well, they both in front of him make a mistake up through Grassini. Bruno's only going to slip past Podis, although surely if Josh Connell ran the line I think he did, he'll have a slowdown too. Might have bled it off already into the final section of the track. Oh, Podis trying to overcompensate for the mistake and then even trying to recover. Oh, it's ended in the kitty litter. Fortunately, no traction control to get you out of there pretty simply. Now though, Bruno not having to defend, just looking forward at the back of our former podium sitter. Now running 4th, Josh Connell 6 seconds adrift from Connor Stroh. We invert the top 10, which means that currently John Willis, has got the inverted pole position. Jackson Podis will provisionally line up 2nd with familial ties, I'm sure, to Remy Podis, and then alongside of Anthony Arroyo on row number 2, but there's still 5 minutes left to go. No guarantees it ends in that way. Heppel's still 1.8 seconds from Giovannone. It's holding him at arm's distance for the time being. Back on board with Bruno. Let's listen to the sound of the engine through Aqua Minerale. So smooth, just rolling the speed through the corner, picking up the throttle. Heard there, shifted down to slow the car, and then putting the power down, shifts up to avoid spinning up the rear wheels. Might not have much power, these Formula 4 machines, but enough that still need to keep yourself reasonable with the usage of the right foot. Also, your aggression in through the corners, as we saw slightly earlier. At 160 horsepower in these cars. That time's going to be fairly even for these two. 4,000ths. Bruno well and truly sitting in the tire tracks. 3 laps to go. The race leader looking comfortable. It's really just this fight left and brewing. Opportunity to get to the inside if you're aggressive through Toza. Just weird, it's cambered and in and also not cambered in at the same time. Crown of the road makes it very interesting. Oh, nice early pickup of the throttle. And is this the chance of Bruno to get to the inside, down the hill? Oh, you can really run your speed around the outside. Snap the left front there from Bruno momentarily. But they get through the corner. Remarkable stuff. Josh Connell. Oh, never really capable of sending a dive in through Grassini. As behind, Roman Podes and Anthony Arroyo swap around. 2 laps left to go. Final chance to make up some positions. Oh, that's how positions swapped back around, I would assume. Arroyo, a bit too much speed in through the final part of Aqua Minerale. That's what sends him around. Now almost 3 seconds at the front, by the way. Jordan Happel doing a great job. Here comes Josh Connell once more. Back down low on the run up to the first chicane. Nicely done. Once again, deja vu. Oh, Nick Bruno, a little bit of Tokyo drift there. Maybe the Italian version of it to, maybe more accurately, something more akin to the Italian job. Oh, into the gravel. You can see how much they've been able to drag back onto the track from running out wide. Oh, wiggle there from Connell. That pushing, no question about that. One more lap after this. Jordan Happel just looking to avoid any mistakes as Josh Connell runs out wide. Your leader, 2.6 seconds to the good though. He's got a lot of work to do in the second race coming up. Inverted top 10 expected to really shake up proceedings. Shake up for 4th position as well. I think Bruno, given the spot it would seem by Josh Connell, I wonder if that is a slowdown given by iRacing when you cut just a little too much of the track and the system automatically calculates a penalty, an amount that you've got to give up. It's a little less aggressive than the system on Gran Turismo, that's for certain, where you get to a certain point of the track and it basically grinds you to a screeching halt. We're about to grind to a screeching halt at the end of this final lap though. A couple of minutes of warm-up before we go for our feature race. 30 minutes of racing. Nick Bruno and Josh Connell squabbling over championship points in the final lap of the heat. Lead closing down as well. Happel has to avoid any mistakes over the curbs. And Jackson Podes and Anthony Arroyo not split by much either. Look at the back and forth from Canadian and the American running 1 and 2. Last lap just a 10th and a bit. Shaved off the lead. Jordan Happel very confident in that middle sector of the lap though. That's going to keep him at arm's distance as there's 2 more corners to navigate through, and not without their share of peril, but ones that Happel can avoid to, or can navigate through and avoid any sort of risk in what has been a rather flawless performance in the opening heat race of the HQ Racing eSports League here at Imola, excuse me. It's Jordan Happel that grabs the win. Behind him, really only a fight for 4th position as Giovanone and Stroh 2nd and 3rd. Nick Bruno and Josh Connell will exit the final corner. A sprint to the line. Is there a chance for Connell to pop to the outside and get his nose in front. He's going to give it his all. The margin 22 thousandths. Nick Bruno holds on to fourth. Slip off the track in the final stages for Jackson Poders as well will promote Anthony Arroyo to 8th at the conclusion of the heat race. However, it means that Jackson Poders now starts on the outside of the front row when we go racing for the main event. So race 1 in the HQ Racing Esports League in the books. 3 seconds the margin at the end. Heppel really turned on the guns a little bit in the latter stages to build up his buffer to Anthony Giovannone. Connor Stroh rounds out the podium positions, clear of Nick Bruno and Josh Connell. A fun fight through the entirety of the race. Alberto Guglielmi and Remy Poders, Anthony Arroyo, Jackson Poders, John Willis, your top 10. Remember, invert that. Have your starting grid for the feature race, while Romario Jackson and Jake DeMeglio, the 2 drivers that unfortunately found themselves a couple of laps adrift from the field. Fastest lap went the way of Josh Connell. That was on lap number 2. Let's catch up though with race winner Jordan Heppel. Now Jordan drove away in the early stages, had a bit of buffer behind, but a bit of back and forth between you and Anthony. How do you feel about your performance in the first race in series history?
Yeah, quite excited. It was really nice to get out on track and have a bit of wheel-to-wheel action at the start, but able to build a bit of a buffer and then just kind of maintain that gap for the rest of the race. So perfect way to start the season, and excited to see where it goes from here.
How important is now having to start from 10th, that little bit of wheel-to-wheel action? Is that experience going to come in handy? Because reverse grids at RaceSpotTV, we know exactly how much chaos that can bring.
Yeah, it'll obviously be a huge component. So we'll see how I'm able to manage my way through traffic, since can't pull away in the same way. Definitely have to fight my way through traffic and see what I can do.
Tire wear, is that something that is a factor? 30 minutes on the clock for our feature race?
Definitely something you have to keep in mind. You for sure would be able to push the tires towards the end of their life if you're going a bit too hard or driving a bit too tight, but don't think it's something to worry about in terms of having to change tires at all. So just trying to manage them so that you've got as much life as possible at the end of the race.
Appreciate the insight. Best of luck for the inverted main event coming up next.
Thank you.
Jordan Heppel, first race winner of the season, and a bit of back and forth with Anthony Giovannone. Anthony, how did he feel in those latter stages, trying to put the pressure on, but seemingly Jordan just having you covered off in that initial heat race?
I felt great. It was a great race. I was really trying to put the pressure on, push it a little bit there. I had a few moments where I almost lost the car, but Jordan was very quick.
How nervous were you in that fight with Josh, especially when you almost got ran over into turn 1?
That was quite nerve-wracking. I had a bit of an off myself, and then he almost took me out into the first corner. So that was quite nerve-wracking.
Good hard racing, but now invert the top 10. How are you feeling ahead of this main event?
Well, first of all, I'm glad I'm starting ahead of Jordan. He was pretty quick. But P9 with a few of the slower drivers ahead of me, it's going to definitely be interesting.
So have to be the world's widest F4 car in defense while also going on offense. Best of luck for the 30 minutes ahead.
Thank you very much.
Anthony Giovanni trying to hunt down our race winner. Meanwhile, Connor Stroh slipped through some of the chaos and able to hold on to the third and final step on the podium. Connor, first race of the season in the books. How are you feeling here at Imola?
Oh, I'm feeling great, you know. I definitely didn't have the pace to finish where I was, but, you know, I told myself just stay consistent, don't make mistakes, and maybe you'll make it there, and I'm here.
You made it. And did you feel like your pace got a little bit better over the race? Did you feel like you were learning as the race went on?
Yeah, I feel, honestly, as soon as the mistake happened in front of me and I moved into my slot and I had a decent gap behind myself, I just went into straight cruising mode, make sure that I made it to the finish.
Well, now
felt confident.
Now you got to try and make your way through the madness for a second time. Best of luck for the main event coming up next.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Quick chat with our podium sitters. Appreciate them giving us a bit of their time as final moments of the warm-up session. Already seen one standing start, one of the unique features of this FIA Formula 4 machine. And see that the temperature hasn't risen too much, although now our track temperature at a positively scalding 96 Fahrenheit, 35.5 degrees Celsius. That is a joke, by the way. Only increased slightly. But yeah, there's 10 more minutes now for our competitors to factor in for their Pirelli tires underneath them. And we do know that here on iRacing, tire temperature is also a bit of a factor when it comes to wear. So warmer track temperature, longer race. See if that will factor in as potentially something that catches some competitors out. Reminder, they are all fighting for, well, the $900 championship prize pool, including the opportunity to head to HQ Racing in Peekskill, New York. Multi-level karting facility. Get some professional coaching with Bryce Rodriguez. And some fun on the track, of course, as well. One race down, but the main event to come. Let's see how they'll line up. 30 minutes, probably around 17 laps of racing. And John Willis and Jackson Podis will split the front row with Anthony Arroyo and Remy Podis just behind them. Alberto Guglielmi and Josh Connell split row 3 with Nick Bruno and Connor Stroh 7th and 8th. Anthony Giovannone and Jordan Heppel 9th and 10th. Some work for them to do after the inverted top 10. Romario Jackson, Jake DeMeglio start at the tail end of the field after a couple of issues for them both in our first race of the season. The lights are all ready though, coming up. Let's go for the main event tonight in HQ Racing eSports League, round 1. Oh, and one car goes nowhere. Anthony Arroyo's caught off on the start and already drops down to 8th position. Make that 10th. Into turn 1. Jackson Podis defensive. Behind him already, Josh Connell up to 3rd position. Sweep out through the first chicane. Connor Stroh +3 as well. Couple of drivers. Aggression on the start. Remy Podis under fire. As into the gravel goes Connor Stroh. He's going to lose him some momentum, dropping behind Nick Bruno. Jackson Podis cuts the nose off of Connell as they swing out of the left-hand hairpin and climb the hill. Once more, Connell sits in a podium spot. A little bit further back in the queue. Race 1 winner, Jordan Heppel's gone nowhere, still in 10th. Down the hill. In through Aqua Minerale. It's a one long conga line, just Romario Jackson having an issue through turn 1. Jake DeMeglio not taking the start of our feature race. Over the curbs. Not a great exit from Connor Stroh. Checks up Anthony Arroyo slightly. Front of the queue, still John Willis leading. Oh, big send. And oh, is that the commentator's curse or what? John Willis goes around down at Ravazza. Guglielmi's taken with him. Not sure if that was a second incident or just part of the chaos. And here comes the chance for Giovannone to get back onto the podium. Finished 2nd in race 1. Started 9th up to 4th already. Josh Connell is on the inside, already through on Jackson Podis. Remy Podis, oh, skips over one of the anti-cut curbs, hit from behind, and goes around. I think that was Anthony Arroyo that unfortunately made the consequential bit of contact. Oh, intense stuff. That's what reverse grid racing, we know it always does. Now Poda's defense from Giovinone. Connell's got a chance to skip away and break clear of the draft. Giovinone not wanting for a second consecutive race to be chasing the ghost of the draft in front of him. In through Piratella. Up at turn 9, Podas will hold on to the inside as they dive down the hill. Nick Bruno slotting himself into the queue. Jackson Podas not wanting to fight too much more, recognizing that Josh Connell, our race leader, is now 1.6 seconds in the good. A little bit awkward. Concertina up to the chicane. Podas very, very sideways for a moment. Meanwhile, race 1 winner on the night, our heat race winner, Jordan Heppel on the outside. Oh, a little bit out of sorts and squirrely. Just about holds on with now Anthony Arroyo filling the rearview mirror. So 2 seconds the gap for Josh Connell. Not the easiest of race 1s, but championship points now the focus in the feature. Swinging one way then the other, that's not comfortable. Nick Bruno has to watch as Connor Stroh tries to pop to the inside. Jackson Podas will lose 1. Off the track goes Jordan Heppel, and big, big contact. Jackson Podas on the inside with Anthony Arroyo. Connor Stroh may have made contact as well, or just taken to the gravel momentarily. The 11 looks okay. From 3rd in the heat race, now back down to 10th. So this is Romario Jackson. Does what effectively Josh Connell did in race 1, albeit on lap 1. Then as John Willis goes around, I think Guglielmi goes around by himself as well. Yeah, in trying to avoid, I think he's gotten a bit spooked and just gone left-hand down, power down. And Remy Podas, I don't think there's much he could really have done, was being passed, a little bit pushed wide potentially. And from being on the anti-cut curb to then being rear-ended. Romario Jackson, a second slip up in this race down at Revazza. Now 24.5 minutes still left on the clock. Here's what happened to Connor Stroh. Sends it in there. Oh, and so it's Connor that goes around. I got a little bit confused. Assumed it was Jordan Heppel. Glad I was... Excuse me, assumed it was Jackson Podas. So Jordan Heppel did go wide at turn 1. He still lost a bit of ground behind Podas. And that's Jackson Podas, not Remy. And now in front of both the Podases. Maybe not for long. Into the second chicane. For a moment, Jackson thought about going on offense. He'd be wise to sit now and follow in the draft. Nice line from Heppel. Out from Toza. Wide on entry, wide on exit, arcs the speed, puts the power down nicely. On a stroke, back up in front of Remy Podas, with John Willis now only 4 seconds in arrears to these drivers. Josh Connell is back and forth at the front of the field. Jackson Podas going back and forth through Aqua Minerale, trying to right the ship. So drops from 6th position where he was at the time. Did not like where he was, wanted to get off the racing line. He was there, pointed in the wrong direction. It's not quite, you know, what happened at Mount Panorama levels, but scary place to be nonetheless. Remy Podas close to the gearbox of Connor Stroh through the first part of Rivazza and then through the final part of it as well. Slips and slides his way through the corner. That won't be good for tires. Meanwhile, I think Giovannone has slipped back into draft. 1.4 seconds, the gap between the top two. Anything under 1.5 seconds, you'll get a taste of it. It won't be much, but enough to start helping your car. Then as you get closer, it becomes more and more noticeable. And within a second or so, that's when you know it's good. On board in this fight for 7th spot. Now, some people may have thought, oh, only 11 cars, not going to be a fun fight. Well, I've commentated on a race with literally 2 cars. You only need 2 to tango. That is the reality. Got competitors who are relatively closely matched. Even with this inverted top 10, we're not seeing drivers really, for the most part, carving through. Taking Jordan Heppel some time to catch back up to Anthony Arroyo. May have felt that he was slightly out of position given how the heat race went after finishing down in what would have been 7th position in the heat. Only dropped 1 place from where he started this main event. Now, feeding draft, race winner behind him. The Canadian be waved through, door left open on the inside, no question of that, and yes. Oh, although slightly misjudged. Arroyo really wanted to get back on power. Meanwhile, over the curb, uncomfortable for Remy Podis in the fight with Connor Stroh. They've closed up to Alberto Guglielmi as well. Tosa. Oh, good exit from Arroyo. Will give him the inside on the climb up in towards Piratella. Yes, the longer distance through the right-hand entry. Use the downforce, be brave. Trust the car. Great stuff. Holding each other up, though, should be noted. Nick Bruno now well and truly ensconced in 3rd position. Oh, Arroyo tries the up and under. Mounts the anti-cut curb, and now watch for the traffic coming behind. There goes 6th. Stroh and Podis won't be far behind either. And in fact, Arroyo might be the bridge up to the car that these two had been chasing down. Remy Podis now on the curb. Someone, somewhere, cue the Benny Hill music, please. Oh no. Again, if you believe in the commentator's curse, that's exhibit 2 of the day. Ooh. Nick Bruno's gone wide out through the final corner. And Jordan Heppel, race winner. Now on the podium once again. It wasn't going wide, it was a spin. I did wonder where all the time had been lost. Jordan Heppel wibble wobbles his way through. That could have been a whole lot worse for him too. It's just one of those days, isn't it? Meanwhile, front of the field, no question as to whether there's some draft being fed. Josh Connell is now only 1 second clear of Anthony Giovannone. Nick Bruno hunting down race 1 winner. They're on the climb up to Piratella. The race leaders just dropping out through Acqua Minerale on the run back up to Grassini. With about 18 minutes left to go. Interesting opening round of the HQ Racing Esports League. The last few laps all in the green. Not sure if it's going to be another 3/10 this lap. Seems to have stabilized just a little bit more. gap that they've got behind them, though. We'll see if Jordan Heppel can use a potential battle between these two to close the advantage. Now about 10.7 seconds to second place. Yeah, on that lap, Giovinone may have made a couple of mistakes. It's not ideal. Target fixation's a real thing as you close up to the front here. Bruno hoping to avoid target fixation of his own accord. As all squeeze onto the grass, Jackson Poders and Remy Poders. Around the outside for Nick Bruno in through Tosa. So much going on here. Like I said, got fairly close competitors mixed around the track. Bruno thinks better of a look in through Piratella. A bit too fast of a corner. Need a heavier braking zone to really make a move a lot of the time. Like the 9th on the bottom of your screen. A little bit of a gap. Maybe 7 car lengths between them. Got to think as well, all these chicanes that we go through for the most part, you know, added through the years. You go back all the way to 1953 when this track was opened. It had the same basic shape and flow, just without any of the chicanes. And if you don't believe me, go and look at the track maps. It's quite remarkable. It's basically the same bit of tarmac, just with now a couple of extra bits added in there, including, for example, this run in through the first chicane. When was that added, you ask? Well, added in 1974, so about 50... Oh, I'm terrible at math. 52 years ago, something like that. Actually, I'm looking at the track map upside down, so technically the first chicane wasn't actually added until 1995, of course. The chicane that I was looking at is the one on the back straight. The Grassini, now as its name, chicane. Bruno pushing a bit too hard. He slipped back in this fight for third. Your race leader still clear as we hit the halfway mark. 8 laps complete in an estimated 17. In this HQ Racing Esports League, round 1 at Imola, round 2 to come next week at the Red Bull Ring. Then a trip to the Hungaroring, Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, Silverstone, Road Atlanta, and then Watkins Glen. 7 consecutive weeks of what should hopefully be some fun electric racing. So lap 8 in the good once more, but Giovinone gives up once more a bit of that time. It's what really does make the top-level esports drivers so remarkable, is their ability to be so consistent, especially when they're put in the pressure situations. Again, he's getting a bit of that draft, just a bit. I'd like to get more if he can. To do that, needs to close. From there, maybe start feeling some of the dirty air, although as far as I'm aware, the dirty air in this car is relatively non-existent, is the word that I think someone used with me. Now, is that accurate? Who knows? I've learned to take what certain sim racers tell me with a pinch of salt. Now, in the real world, it's different. I don't know what it is, but there is something about, I don't know, me on pit lane, apparently. John Hindorf is the one that has said it, not me. But they just like to tell me the truth. I'm not complaining. Again, I'm not. It sounds like I'm complaining. I'm not complaining about that. Complaining more that I can't get sim racers to do that necessarily as much. Hey, you ask someone, and the pilot challenge, when are you going to come down to pit lane? They'll tell you. Guglielmi might want to come to pit lane to replace those tires after looping it down through Ravazza. Italian at his home track, one of his home tracks, I should say. You got Imola, you got Monza, Mugello. There's so many Italian tracks, and great ones. Avoids using the brake pedal, just trying to back the car up. Meanwhile, Jordan Heppel slowly back under pressure from Nick Brunos. Josh Connell is truly under fire from Anthony Giovannone. Down to 1.2 seconds now. Giovannone not in the draft on the initial run up in towards Grassini. That's interesting. It's another 3/10 that he gained on that previous lap. Just needs to avoid any mistakes down through final two corners here, and you'll be in a good position to close in through the draft on the run to turn one. See that Connell's not being inconsistent on his end. Last three laps within 3 or so tenths of a second. Trying to run the shortest line back to turn one. Smart, of course, in these Formula 4 machines with just 160 horsepower. It's another 10th for Giovannone. That's 2 consecutive laps now in the green. Connell running nice, smooth laps. This is the danger of open wheel racing. Racecraft becomes as important as your technical ability to hit your marks. In fact, in some ways, you'd argue maybe more important. John Willis is in pit lane with a meatball flag, so I think he might have had an incident somewhere out on track. As we wind down into the final third, 20 minutes down. And now, as the seconds tick away, make it 9 minutes to go. Oh, John Willis, that's target fixation. I think follows Romario Jackson into the gravel out through turn one. Bish, bash, bosh, off they go, back to pit lane. So it's going to be another half a second gained by Giovannone this time around. Oh, he's going to give up some of that time as the left sides dip into the grass. Got to be very careful here because one slightly bigger slip off the track will cost him more momentum, and at that point loses the draft. Seen Remy Potus get a black flag. I think that's for hitting the incident limit, which on iRacing you get 1 incident point for driving off the track by yourself, 2 if you spin by yourself, and then 4 if you make big contact with another car. 15 points accumulated, you have a drive-through penalty, and So Remy's going to come down and serve. Up the hill once again. It's 0.8 of a second between these two. What is probably 4 laps to go at the line. Giovinone closer than he was at any point in the opening race, the heat race tonight. A slight slip up at turn 1 didn't make too much of an impact. He'll have given up some time on this lap, yes, but he's crucially still in drafting range. Yeah, so Connell gains about just over 1/10.5 back on his side. Giovinone slipped 0.6 in his lap alone. Look, 146.4 goes up to a 147. Nick Bruno within a second of Jordan Heppel as well. It's close. Giving it his all. Riding on board with Giovinone in second. Listen up through Piratella. I don't even know if he touches the brakes. It's just down a gear and then bam, off you go again. Very, very nice though through Acqua Minerale. Very smooth. It's going to be about half a second heading down into Ravazza with 3 laps to go. Giovinone well and truly now in the hunt. Cockpit view, driver's eye. This is the perspective you get on iRacing. Inching closer in the draft and already now alongside as they cross the line. It was about 20 thousandths of a second between them. If that was the checkered flag, Josh Connell might have just held on, you know. Oh, a little unsteady as he tries to slot back in, rear end, wiggles around. But handles it nicely. These two will continue this fight. Connell just needs to avoid losing the rear end and put the power down a bit more smoothly on the exit of some of these corners and let the draft do its work. Minutes left on the clock. Nick Bruno is well and truly, by the way, on the case of Jordan Heppel, now within 0.3 of a podium spot. Don't quite know who comes out in that bottom battle on the bottom of your screen. Nick Bruno's shown his willingness to go aggressive. Jordan Heppel, oh, a little wide through Acqua Minerale. But he's shown that he knows how to deal with pressure. Your leaders drop down into the penultimate corner. Oh, Heppel drops off the track. He's given Nick Bruno an opportunity into Ravazza. On what is the anti-penultimate lap. Lewis McLean will be so proud. I've just thrown that into a broadcast. Bruno slips through to third. Nicely done. Josh Connell takes his speed to the outside on the run up to Tamburello. He squeezes his way through. Nicely done. Don't usually see the pass made there. Connell trusted Giovinone to give him just enough space. Now will Heppel and Bruno repeat on the bottom. Giovinone slides through once more at the Villeneuve chicane. Remarkable stuff. And now up through Tosa, they will continue to fight. For half the lap, they've already gone wheel to wheel. Giovinone tries to give the Schumacher squeeze to Josh Connell. Doesn't quite work. Connell plays the role of Juan Pablo Montoya all those years ago. And around the outside, he will try and hold on. Schumacher squeeze works. And Giovinone now officially nestle in the race lead. Jordan Heppel gets a shot from Bruno. Oh, and in the process, Nick Bruno will get a drive-through penalty. So Anthony Arroyo get that as well. It all accumulates. 15 incident points, 30 minutes. How close are these two? It's also track limits that become a factor now. Nick Bruno, I mean, Heppel loses the rear end. That does not help the case for Bruno. Kind of got nowhere to go. So one final lap here. Josh Connell and Anthony Giovinone. After an inverted top 10, it comes down to these two. Giovinone's in the draft and now has one final lap to figure this out. Setting up potentially a slingshot in through Tosa on the final 3 miles of racing. Connell defends the inside. You saw Anthony thought about the switchback. The door was firmly held closed. Now alongside, trying to side draft a little bit as they run up the hill. Steal some speed off the other car. Oh, the inside curb, not your friend. Giovinone tentative, Connell able to hold on. Great exit up through Acqua Minerale. Giovinone's got a chance to make it work now. Make the move, good exit. Oh, but he locks the right front, slides through, slow down penalty. And Josh Connell might just have been gifted a race win. Giovinone is going to serve it as sneakily, smartly as he can. Lead the speed off, and then time his acceleration. Has he played the game? Oh, and the gravel robs momentum. Giovinone threw everything at it. But absorbing the pressure, Josh Connell, feature race winner in the HQ Racing eSports League. Great racing to set the tone for the 7 weeks in front of us. And Connell makes up for the mistake, slipping off the track in the opening race of the season. Arroyo is able to recover 6th position after a drive-through penalty. Nick Bruno's going to finish 5th after his drive-through. In total, I see 4 drivers that needed to make that trip down pit lane. Oh, Arroyo's lost it. Will re-gift 6th position to Guglielmi. What an opening round of this championship. If it's any indication, we are going to see plenty of action. Can't wait to chat to race winner Josh Connell. 2/10 the margin to Anthony Giovinone. Jordan Heppel makes it a 1st and 3rd, though. Solid point stay. In front of Connor Stroh, Nick Bruno, Alberto Guglielmi, Anthony Arroyo, Jackson and Remy Podis, and then John Willis. 1 lap down. Romario Jackson 2 laps down, and we did not see rolling out for the final race, Jake DiMeglio, DNS, in the 12th race, 12th position of the day. Waiting to see if we're going to get the opportunity to catch up with any of our drivers. It was really nice to do so after the heat race. Close fight in the feature race all the way to the very end. Could have been a run to the checkered flag, but slight mistake from Giovinone allowed Josh Connell the opportunity to run his way to the checkered flag and into victory lane as well. Let's see if we can catch up with our feature race winner here tonight. Josh Connell, great fight with Anthony Giovanoni. And Josh, talk to us. Nerves, how were they feeling in those final couple of laps?
It was a good fight, man. It was a great start. Got a good start off the green lights. I knew that was important, but Anthony started coming back towards the end of the race and made it really tough for me, but it was good to come out with a win.
Let's go back to the heat race, and I don't want to bring up the bad memory, but slide through turn one. Talk us through what went on there.
Yeah, I just went in a little bit too deep at turn 9 and got myself a little bit out of control and just locked up into turn 10. Went wide. Didn't want to hit anybody coming back on track, so I let off a little bit until I knew everybody was out the way.
Well, now the first round's in the books. How are you feeling about the 6 weeks we've got coming up after this? It's a championship in which you don't really get a break to breathe.
I feel confident. It feels good. I like the racing here. Everybody's racing really cleanly and really nicely. And I'm confident for the next coming races, so yes.
Well, we'll see you next week from the Red Bull Ring. Congrats on the victory here in round 1.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Let's catch up with, well, 2 consecutive second place finishes for Anthony Giovanoni. Anthony, great fight, great effort. Anything more you think you could have done to try and snatch that victory away from Josh in the dying stages?
Yeah, definitely. I put in a lot of practice at this track, so it sucks to have a lock up to the chicane there, but definitely being more consistent also. I wasn't gaining on him at a great rate, so being more consistent could have helped me.
Next week we head to the Red Bull Ring. You've got 2 consecutive second place finishes to open up the championship. How do you think things are going to head fair for you when we head to the Austrian mountains?
Yeah, it doesn't feel great to leave points on the table like this, but I'm feeling confident going up to Spielberg, so I think it'll be interesting.
Love you already talking about leaving points on the table. Anthony Giovanoni, 2 second place finishes. Can't wait to see you next week.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
And let's catch up with our heat race winner, Jordan Heppel, who, well, got a little bit stuck on the initial start, not able to get through some of the mess in front. And initially, after the initial slow start, able to find his way up to 3rd. Jordan, how are you feeling with the first reverse grid race in the books?
Feeling quite good. Happy to have another podium in there. Definitely a lot more chaotic at the start, and a lot more action trying to work my way through the pack, starting from 10th. But it's a lot of fun, and looking forward to more races throughout the season.
Anything you kind of learned from that reverse grid? I always say it's hard to know what you're getting into in the reverse grid races until you've done one with these drivers for the very first time.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing at the moment would just be learning a bit more patience. You always want to make sure that you're pushing as hard as you can. You don't lose any time behind cars that you don't have to. But I think I was a little over optimistic. It's lap 2 or 3 there. We ended up going 3 wide through turn 3 and caught a little bit of damage in that. So had to manage slightly damaged front wing and some suspension damage for the rest of the race, which definitely made it hard to try and catch up to P1 and 2 as they were running away with it. So just learning to have a bit more patience and wait for the right opportunity rather than forcing something too early.
Hey, well, if you learn the tricks of being patient, then please teach me and teach the rest of us as well. Can't wait to see you next week when we make our way to the Red Bull Ring. Congrats on a great opening round of the championship.
Thank you. See you next week.
And next week we'll head into the Styrian Mountains to Spielberg. Can't wait for, well, another Formula One venue. So join us on March the 10th, same time, same place, RaceSpotTV, 9 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully some glorious sunshine for us to enjoy, some great racing. And this opening round of the HQ Racing Esports League proves we should be in for some fun fighting as our drivers compete for an opportunity to go from sim to real and make their way into Peekskill, New York at the HQ Racing facility. For our team here at RaceSpotTV, Hugo Luis, alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati. Thanks for joining us. Can't wait to see you for round 2 next week.